Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello and welcome to Marketing Management, a VUCA perspective. We have been discussing core concepts, and this is the final in the 40-part series which completes this entire course. And I hope it has been an exhilarating, fun, and full of learning journey for all of you. Now, we've talked a lot about marketing, and we've talked a lot about the ways marketing must prove its worth in the returns on investment. Here, as we understand how Andrew Davis's last comment, which we've been tracking for some time, that content builds the relationships, relationships build trust, and trust drives revenue. That revenue itself is a big reason for the organization to be able to funnel it into marketing. But then the responsibility stands with the marketer to ensure that whatever is being spent on advertising and marketing out there is something which is used judiciously, and the impact that is intended from that particular activity is generated in the best way possible, and it is minimized when it comes to the actual spends and maximized when it comes to the actual impact. So therefore, whatever is inclusive and chosen meticulously and creates that necessary impact, therefore, is something which also has to look at the returns, because the returns is where the efficiency and effectiveness of marketing really stand. Social and digital media is the way to go forward, and it also stands in the entire online space as the most prolific and the most measured ways of communicating for a brand to its intended audience. And hence, ROI plays a very, very vital role in understanding how effectively, how thoughtfully has a brand really marketed to its consumers. So with that, we enter the last of this 40-part series on marketing management with a VUCA perspective, and we close the conversation around integrated marketing communications. Here we are getting into measuring social media ROI, and this is a comprehensive guide for marketers, because using this they will be able to actually implement the tenets of ROI in social media marketing and measure how well they have been actually going about doing their jobs. So in today's digital landscape, companies are investing more resources into social media than ever before, something I've just mentioned. And according to MDG Advertising, social media now accounts for easily 12% of marketing budgets and is projected to easily exceed 20% within the next 5 years. And with this hurricane movement, you will actually see a significant investment where 44% of CMOs report difficulty in measuring social media's overall business impact. The impact has actually results which create leads or create sales, something that actually is of value to the brand as such. And therefore, we look at the various strategies, tools, frameworks, etc. for quantifying how social media ROI really is working for the organization and brand, and through some real-world case studies, including Honda's innovative campaigns and Oreo's global market expansion, we will see how actionable insights come our way and how these can be used to demonstrate the value created using social media. Now, in the case of the social media investment landscape, currently the budget stands at 12%. And this is typical when we look at the current share of marketing budgets, which we have mentioned, MDG Advertising has already spoken of. and the future projection is about at 20%, where we expect the share of marketing budgets to go in the next 5 years. And there is a measurement gap of about 44% where CMOs are unable to measure how it will impact overall business. So there is growing investment on one hand, and it reflects in the role which social media is playing in modern marketing strategies. However, the increasing problem is that the importance of having a social presence still grapples with quantifying the returns, and 20% of surveyed CMOs have successfully quantified social media's impact on their business, highlighting a significant ROI measurement gap that needs to be addressed. Now, what is really the nature of this ROI measurement challenge? First and foremost, tracking tools, because selecting appropriate measurement solutions are quite critical and important, and without the sensibility to do so, it may all fall flat. Then the metrics themselves are under question, because meaningful metrics beyond just vanity metrics should actually indicate the kind of business impact generated. Finally speaking, the quantification of ROI is where the engagement really turns into revenue, whether it be in the form of leads, whether it be in the form of activations, whether it be in some measurable metric like downloads of apps, whether it be in the form of actual sales concluded, and whether it be in the form of various conclusive resolutions given. It has to have a measure, and that measure is critically important for brands to track, because despite widespread adoption, quantifying the ROI remains elusive for many organizations. The primary challenge here, determining which metrics truly matter, connecting the social engagement to revenue generation, and selecting right tracking tools to measure performance accurately, is where the problems are. About 58% of brands measure social engagement, and only 21% track goal or revenue conversions from whatever social media efforts that they are getting into, which brings us to the essential social media monitoring tools. Google Alerts are one, where you've got a free monitoring service that emails automated search results for up to 1,000 terms, limited to Google sites only. This is perfect for brands getting started basic brand mention tracking. Another example here is BuzzSumo, which here gives you an affordable solution which is under $100 a month, and it allows alerts for brand mentions and competitor monitoring. It provides unlimited content and social influencer searches to develop your own content and also go out and reach influencers in your sphere of influence. Nuvi again gives you an advanced solution with sophisticated data visualization capabilities. It also enables companies to easily visualize brand perception, measure social media effectiveness, and capture negative comments for rapid responses, because ORM, online reputation management, this has become very, very important. And as much as is the case where you have to bring revenue in, you also have to do damage control. And damage control is equally important, because bad publicity can actually turn the tables against you, and they can cause more damage than you will ever gain in revenues. Therefore, selecting the right monitoring tools form the foundation of effective ROI measurement. These solutions vary in sophistication and the price point at which they offer their services, and they allow marketers to choose options that align with their budget and analytical depth needs. And the right tool combination provides real-time insights into brand perception, competitive positioning, and engagement effectiveness. Now, moving beyond the vanity matrix, you will see vanity matrix like Facebook likes, Twitter followers, Instagram hearts, content shares, and retweets. These are just to showcase some of the basic tenets of interaction when it comes to your social media presence. These are easy to track but have very limited business value. The actual important business metrics which you are looking at are conversion rates, lead generation, and to what extent, revenue attribution, to what extent, what kind of cost reduction are you able to do as your process moves forward. So, cost per click, cost per milieu, cost per acquisition, a variety of measures come into play here. Also, cost per lead. Then that customer acquisition cost, the ever elusive CAC, is something which needs to be lowered as the campaigns get better and there is more and more brand recognition. So, therefore, the initial social media measurement focused on primarily very easily observable metrics like likes, shares and follow accounts. However, the vanity metrics have often given way because they fail to correlate with actual marketing success or business outcomes. It's just a good to have number. So, therefore, forward-thinking organizations are moving beyond these surface-level measurements and tracking metrics and directly checking for impact when it comes to their business performance. Forrester's social media ROI framework is a detailed study in how to go about doing this. This is primarily led by objectives, and so therefore, if you have short-term financial benefits in your sites, then you increase your revenue through social-driven sales and your cost reduction through community support. For example, netshops.com increased their sales 26% after they added ratings and reviews. So, the social truth of that particular product or that particular service actually came and helped them to reduce the chances of people saying no to the services, and therefore, it created a very clear short-term financial benefit. If you want short-term digital benefits, you improve your search engine visibility, increase your website traffic and enhance your digital engagement where, for example, you take Swanson Health Products which saw a 163% increase in traffic from their review visibility. So, this was something which was phenomenal, the 163% increase in review visibility. So, this is something which really worked in favor of Swanson Health. Now, if you want long-term brand lift, here you want enhanced brand perception, you want to be the preferred brand in the space and people coming to you with purchase instance. So, the intent here is something which is driven by continuous activity, and P&G's Facebook campaign for Lindsey Vonn increased their brand preference by 8 to 11%. Yes, just 8 to 11%. But think about it, 8 to 11% is a lot when it comes to enhanced brand perception. It talks about the entire audience set. It talks about preference across demographics and your target audience subsets. And it also increases purchase intent. So, if you look at the lifetime value and how often Lindsey Vonn is purchased, then you will actually see that it has direct impact on the revenues because it affects sales, and that is intentional here, and that gives something to talk about when it comes to long-term brand lift. And long-term risk avoidance, which is again similar. Here, crisis prevention can happen through monitoring and rapid response, and you can take potential brand issues and manage them better. For example, McDonald's and AT&T monitoring teams address problems before they escalate, ensuring that nothing blows into a full-fledged PR storm. Now, Josh Bernoff, who is Forrester Research's digital marketing expert, he proposes evaluating social media ROI through this comprehensive framework and balances short-term gains with long-term value creation. This model helps marketers articulate social media's multifaceted business impact beyond just the primary sale. Now, COVID has had a very significant and deep impact. A lot of business was constrained courtesy COVID, and it actually brought a lot of organizations to seek continuity of business, and hence the focus primarily became sales. Because the actual movement was headed towards sales and organizations planned only to get more and more sales, the conversations became extremely transactional. So, the deeper brand building aspects, which were tenets of creating stalwarts amongst the entire space out there, especially in a space where attention spans are falling, and so therefore people hardly interact with brands. They move from one particular topicality to the next. That is where it's even more important to have the strength of brand supporting you, because it over time helps you with lowered CAC, and it also in campaigns actually gives you better visibility and instant recall, thereby increasing the chances of your being accepted by the end consumer, and so therefore the brand gets acceptance. So, here let us look at a case study where we can see cost reduction through community support. Now, what was the consumer question in this case? There was a technical issue submitted to the community forum. What was the community's response? They used other users who were more experienced and knowledgeable to provide solutions. What was the problem resolution? It was an issue which was resolved without the company even getting into the entire interaction, and significantly cost savings were resulted as the activity helped the person who had kick-started the particular question. Now, National Instruments, a manufacturer of sophisticated engineering products, discovered that members of its user community answered 46% of other users' questions, and it saved the company a typical $10 service cost per call. And similarly, AT&T's revamped online community resulted in a 16% reduction in telephone customer support costs in just 1 month. So, if your community is strong, if they stand with you, they are invested in the brand, and if they are knowledgeable enough to actually support what the brand needs answered, then they stand together, they rally with the brand and get the solutions out there for other consumers, giving them a very fraternal experience. These examples demonstrate how well managed social media communities can provide substantial cost savings and simultaneously improve the customer experience and build brand loyalty, because here the consumer is also feeling that they have entered a brand which has such a strong community that the community takes care of its own, and they feel welcomed, they feel included. So, this is critically important for people to develop a sense of belonging and a sense of loyalty for the brand. Again, another case study where revenue growth through social proof was demonstrated. Here, taking ratings and reviews which were implemented, it added social proof elements to product stages. When that happened, the search visibility improved and there was better and enhanced SEO through user generated content. There were increased conversion rates where higher purchase completion from trusted content actually helped the brand move forward. So, NetShops, the example we spoken about, experienced a remarkable 26% increase in sales within 6 months after implementing ratings and reviews on their e-commerce platform. Similarly, Swanson Health significantly improved its search engine visibility by enhancing the display of product reviews, resulting in a 163% increase in traffic to its product pages. These examples illustrate how user-generated content, it can directly impact revenue by increasing visibility. It helps build consumer trust and it drives purchase decisions as well. And this leads to creating measurable social media campaigns. Now, the idea here is to define very clear objectives. You've heard of SMART goals before. This is typically the format which we use here as well to define clear objectives, because they have to be simplified, they have to be very manageable, they have to be attainable, they have to be realistic, and they have to be time bound. So, that gives us the clear objectives which we are going to work towards. You establish specific measurable goals tied to business outcomes, because you need a certain result, you expect something to happen, and that is precisely why you peg whatever you are doing right now to a certain outcome later in the future. when you reach that particular intended milestone or reach close enough, you will actually be able to gauge how well your entire campaign has performed. When it comes to incorporating trackable elements, you include unique landing pages, track your URLs, put a promo code and add custom hashtags, and those allow for tracking what kind of movement is happening and how are people actually following the breadcrumbs that you've laid out for them. Then come engagement mechanisms. Here you integrate contests, promotions and interactive features to drive measurable actions, and implement attribution tracking, because you put in a particular task based attribution element, because you use multi-touch attribution models and connect social touch points to conversions with a certain activity which raises a certain tag or a certain ticketing, which allows the brand to track the movement of the consumer through each of these touch points and stages. The easiest way to measure social media ROI is to design campaigns with measurement in mind right from the start. Silicon Valley agency Wildfire created a successful promotion for Jamba Juice featuring lucky coupons with values revealed only in store. This approach created a clear path for tracking the campaign's impact on foot traffic and sales. So let's look at a larger brand case study which will help us understand this better. Now we are looking at Honda in this particular case. Honda, which is one of Japan's 3 major automotive companies, it ranks as the world's 21st best brand according to Interbrand's 2019 assessment. The company competes globally with brands like Volkswagen, Ford, GM and Toyota. It consistently delivers innovative products and earns industry recognition. The 2018 Honda Accord was being named the car of the year at the North American International Auto Show. So they have a few accolades to their name. Now, to connect with younger demographics, Honda strategically allocated its sponsorship budget across multiple categories, with the majority, close to about 60%, directed towards sports engagements. Why? Because sports and the youth are very, very closely connected. Followed by festivals, which was next. Then causes, because the youth has a lot of causes which they support and they're working actively towards. Then there is entertainment, and then finally arts, which is in the decreasing order of importance for their intended demographic, the youth. Now, when you look at Honda's marketing communication strategy, you will see that they have a very nice integrated marketing communications mix. Their media mix covers quite a large amount of ground. They have traditional media, where television, newspapers, magazines and auto publications maintain the wide reach and established credibility for the brand. They have digital channels where their websites, the blogs, the social platforms they have, and YouTube also provide measurable engagement and targeting capabilities. They get into a lot of sponsorships where strategic partnerships with NHL, PGA Tour and music events create authentic connections with their target demographics. Further, the unified messaging, the power of dreams, which is their strapline, gives the philosophy of Honda a unifying factor across all communication platforms and touchpoints. So Honda has developed this sophisticated marketing communication strategy, and it balances traditional and digital channels while maintaining a consistent brand philosophy. The power of dreams, their strapline, is something which serves both slogan and corporate philosophy needs together, informing all brand communication and sponsorship activities while resonating with aspirational consumer values. Honda has innovative social media campaigns to boot. Now, since Honda is the power of dreams, so therefore dreams should become the vector. We've discussed how master brands plan for these things. So the primary vector in this case is dreams, and dream makers becomes the name of the campaign. Therefore, that is their narrative building structure, how they talk about their entire dream aspect. There is a 90-second video which is paralleling the filmmaking with car manufacturing and showcasing Honda's creative process and technological innovation in filmmaking form. Now add to this the digital aspect of social media where you create hashtags. So you've got the hashtag Cheerins campaign where it is a 5-day sales event featuring humorous content, positive messaging and shareable GIFs and memes, something which immediately connects with the youth because it is part of their daily habitual culture and it generates engagement for that particular demographic. Here you also have the Candy Cane Lane project where there is a virtual reality experience for hospitalized children, again cause based, again something which attracts the youth to participate and it creates a winter wonderland complete with Christmas trees, lighting and Santa appearances. And then there is the hashtag Fireblade Selfie campaign where there is an interactive campaign encouraging users to share selfies for dealership directions and contest entry. It results in 14,000 selfies and 91.5% increase in engagement. So with all of these things, Honda has consistently developed innovative social media campaigns that drive meaningful engagement with their audience, and these campaigns go beyond your traditional advertising to create interactive experiences, and these generate measurable results while reinforcing brand values and driving consideration for the brand. Now with all this in mind, they have created the Honda Engine Room, which is their content marketing hub. As the engine is the heart of any car, so is content the heart of their entire marketing and integrated marketing thought process. Video content sits pretty at the center. They've got engaging visual storytelling that brings the brand to life. They've got written articles which carry in-depth information and also contributes to SEO performance. They've got infographics with visual data presentation for quick audience consumption, and yes, they have brand stories. Here they've got heritage, innovation narratives, and these build the emotional connection with the brand at large. Honda UK launched the Honda Engine Room Content Hub in 2018, and this helped support their strategic shift towards longer format storytelling and advertorial based messaging. This was built on the shorthand platform. The hub enables real-time story creation viewable both across mobile as well as desktop devices. With over 140 content pieces that span Honda's product range, the Engine Room employs a balanced mix of video and written content to maximize audience engagement while optimizing the search visibility. The diverse content approach encourages longer and more immersive site visits and provides multiple opportunities for brand messaging. So, the brand messaging therefore is subtle, it is woven into the narrative and it does not seem out of place. It looks contextual, feels just right and it blends in with the entire setting. Now, when you are measuring Honda's social media success, what have they done right? The engagement metrics first, the Fireblade Selfie hashtag, it created campaigns, demonstrated quantifiable success with 14,000 selfies you talked about. It had 100 booked test rides, again a measurable metric, 5,900 new followers and a remarkable 91.5% increase in customer engagement, providing clear ROI indicators. Yes, there will be some old-fashioned hard numbers which are indicative, but there will also be business-related numbers which showcase how the transition is happening and what impact does it actually have on sales and finally the revenue. Then there is content performance where Honda Engine Room Analytics track viewer time on page, how long do they stay, if they bounce off, where do they go, content popularity, which pieces do best and conversion pathways, so where do they head from there and are they getting decisions which are data driven about which content types and topics generate the strongest audience response. Hence, they will create more in that particular genre and engage the audience demographic further. So, these are the conversations which they try to get into. Beyond this, there is search performance where Honda's mixed content strategy has improved their search engine rankings with written content providing keyword relevance, which diverse media types increase and the overall domain authority and visibility is also spiked up. Now, this is their integrated social media campaign strategy, where social media measurement focuses on connecting online engagement to business outcomes, and it implements trackable campaign elements and comprehensive analytics. Honda can demonstrate social media's contribution to brand awareness, consideration, and ultimately vehicle purchases. So, the IDA model is fully implemented. The marketer can sleep happily at night. Let's also look at how Oreo expanded globally with this particular case study. Now, in 1912, by national biscuit company Nabisco, Oreo was founded and became America's best loved cookie and the best selling cookie brand of the 21st century. It generated over $2 billion in annual global revenues. By the mid-90s, Oreo primarily focused in the US market before expanding globally to drive their growth story. Now they made an entry into India. Mondelez International launched Cadbury Oreo in India in March 2011, and it entered the competitive 17,000 crore biscuit market, which was dominated by established players where Parle had 41%, Britannia had 26%, and ITC had about 8%. The brand leveraged Cadbury's established reputation in India to build consumer trust while maintaining Oreo's global identity. It was sort of a well-orchestrated handshake. Now, Oreo's global expansion represents a masterclass in adapting a beloved brand for new markets and maintaining its core identity. And as the brand entered emerging markets like India, it faced the challenge of competing with entrenched local players who had a lot of heritage, and was meanwhile a distinctly American product which was fighting for its own new space in that particular geography. So, Oreo India, the market entry objectives were that they wanted very simply just 1% market share. This was the target share of India's biscuit category which they wanted to glean in the very first year. Beyond this, they wanted brand awareness very, very strongly. So, 40% of the audience would definitely want to know what Oreo is and would probably be aware. So, this was in the priority markets where they wanted about 40% share. Then they wanted trials to happen. So, again 40% was what they pegged for the trials aspect, and this is the kind of consumers sampling the product. Again, repeat purchases where consumers wanted to retain the product, which was again at 40%. So, very strong hard numbers which they were gunning after. So, Oreo entered the Indian market and with clearly defined objectives, and this was focused on gaining a foothold in the fiercely competitive biscuit category in India. These metrics created a framework for measuring what success they were hoping to achieve, and it optimized the marketing efforts throughout the launch period, providing clear ROI indicators of the brand's market entry investment. Now, when walking into Oreo India, product and pricing was part of this strategy to win. The product adaptation first turned the fine-tuned flavor profile for the Indian palate. So, there were intensive tests done with the audiences before they launched, and then they maintained their iconic cookie design consistency to keep their American brand continuity going. They preserved the signature embossed chocolate cookies with the vanilla cream as their mainstay because that was iconic. They also leveraged their global brand identity and adapted for the local market. Strategically, they priced their packaging with ₹5 for a pack of 3, which were impulse purchases, would actually facilitate the initial sampling, and then there was the ₹10 pack for 7 for light users and a 20 pack for 14, which was heavy users. Now, multiple price points encourage the trial and repeat purchase behavior, and Mondelez strategically balanced global brand consistency with local market adaptation in the Oreo India launch. Now, while doing so, they maintained the cookie's iconic design elements, and the product was subtly modified to meet Indian palates. And this multi-tiered pricing strategy created accessible entry points of various consumption occasions, from impulse to family sharing. Also, they actually factored in a fantastic distribution strategy for India, where they actually created amazing traditional trade entries where they had custom POS materials and they got countertop displays to ensure visibility in small local shops. In India, most of retail still happens in very traditional retail shops across cities and in hinterland India. So, modern trade still has a lot of room to cover when it reaches the end mile consumer. So, therefore, in category presence, it put out the out of category POS visibility, creating a wall of blue effect. So, it was literally owning that particular retail space. It created enhanced visibility and put front of store placements with distinctive panels to break through category clutter and ensured that people noticed the brand. Also, it covered all of India, so therefore, it leveraged Cadbury's distribution network for rapid spread across the country. So, their communication campaigns would cover the larger geography and lead to economies of scale. So, therefore, Oreo's India launch prioritized distribution and in-store visibility before implementing its consumer promotions. Also, this strategy ensured strong product availability while creating distinctive brand presence in both traditional and modern retail environments. Leveraging Cadbury's established distribution network, Oreo rapidly achieved national coverage and prime shelf positioning. Then they came out with the twist, lick, dunk communication strategy where they put out, as we've discussed, a ritual. When you're creating tribes, rituals come in mighty handy, and the first activity was twist, where they separated the cookie halves, then the lick of enjoying the cream filling, and then dunking it in milk and enjoying the chocolate cookie. And then you can do it together and share family moments. You can create your own iteration of the particular ritual and also make it share worthy. So, all of these activities were around activity and engagement. And so, therefore, Oreo's communication strategy brilliantly leveraged cultural insights about the importance of rituals in Indian family life also and the enjoyment which is embedded within. So, the iconic twist, lick, dunk TLD ritual became the platform for connecting the brand with the emotional value of family togetherness. This approach created a dual appeal, a ritual of pleasure for children centered on consumption enjoyment and a ritual of emotion for parents because they were focusing on bonding with their child, and it created that family bonding moment. The campaign specifically targeted the underserved father-child relationship because fathers typically tended to have more time spent outside of home and got very few moments to bond with their children. So, portraying Oreo as a catalyst for creating delightful moments between fathers and their children was what was utilized to the hilt. Yes, on top of it, for visibility, they got Mahendra Singh Dhoni. So, because of this, instant visibility and appeal also came along with the communication. Now, Oreo India got integrated marketing communications going for them. They got in television high impact commercials featuring the father-child relation and the TLD ritual, MSD thrown in for good measure, and you got premium placements during the Cricket World Cup and IPL series, again connecting it with Dhoni. And then you had outdoors where billboards, bus wraps, backlit mall boards and train wraps showcasing Oreo Blue branding and TLD messaging, including innovative ambient displays. Everything, they just went to town with it. Beyond this, in retail, there was premium visibility in modern trade using dispensers, standees and spectacular displays, and plus they had countertop materials in traditional outlets to cover the empty spaces there. And on digital, they engaged the website content, Facebook community and online TLD games and contests, creating interactive brand experiences. Oreo's launch employed a comprehensive marketing communications mix to build awareness and drive trial, and the campaign created multiple customer touchpoints spanning traditional media, retail environments, experiential activations and digital platforms, all delivering a consistent message around the ritual and family togetherness. Now, Oreo India had experiential marketing also working in their favor, where they got the togetherness bus which showcased brand experience vehicle touring 9 cities across India. They had interactive, family-friendly TLD activities and games and photo ops. They also took the togetherness pledge, where parents and children committed to spending more time together. And it brought the family very, very close together through all the ritual building and created a tribe-like activation for its audiences. And so therefore, it included the Oreo Togetherness bus touring 9 cities across India. The experiential campaign brought the brand philosophy to life, and through interactive activities, families bonded over TLD games. Now, similar activations with branded vans targeted smaller towns and extended the campaign's reach beyond metropolitan India. And these experiences created emotional connections, and the brand generated valuable social media content and word of mouth marketing, and you had MSD playing along for the ride. So, all of these things added to the overall virality of what the brand could achieve. Oreo India also had a digital engagement strategy. At launch, at 9 weeks and at 5 months, this is the kind of awareness and interactive experiences they got. And they built a robust digital presence through engaging content and interactive experiences. And their Facebook page became a hub for the TLD ritual and family togetherness messaging, and featured games, contests and UGC that encouraged active participation rather than passive consumption. When you give people something to act, it takes the monkey brain. We have this little aspect in human psychology called the monkey brain. It is an inactive part of our brain which will take to something else and it will ignore messages. So, the monkey brain needs an activity like peeling a banana and eating it. So, very simply, if you give it an activity, that monkey brain activity leads to interactions, and interactions lead to memories, sensorials, etc. So, this is beneficial to the brand because it cements the brand ideology inside of people's minds. And Oreo India Facebook community exceeded 45,000 members, scaling to an impressive 500,000 fans within 5 months. So, that was a phenomenal hyperbolic rise, and this rapid growth positioned Oreo amongst the top 30 brands on Facebook in India and created a valuable owned media channel for ongoing consumer engagement. Now, in terms of its performance against objectives, the market share achievement, they reached within a year? No, they reached it in 6 months, half the time originally projected, demonstrating exceptional penetration. Brand awareness wise, they exceeded awareness targets for both children and adults, outperforming established cream biscuit brands in recognition metrics. The trial and repeat performance, again ritualization was something which they surpassed, and 4 months of launch they had actually hit their numbers. They indicated strong product acceptance and satisfaction, and the brand linkage strength was outperforming category norms against recall and brand linkage and demonstrating effective communication strategy throughout. So, this provided the clear ROI demonstration of their idea's strength and the activation accordingly. Now, here the key lessons which we can take from the success of Oreo in India: it created meaningful differentiation. It stood out in a crowded marketplace where there were entrenched players who had been there for decades. It also quickly adapted to the local market. The adaptation balanced the global identity with local relevance very, very seamlessly, and integrated communications were used throughout. It orchestrated the consistent messaging across channels. It had valuable lessons for any brand seeking to measure and maximize social media ROI. This brand created compelling differentiation at every consumer touchpoint throughout the product offering, in-store presentation, consumer insights, and establishment of a memorable consumption ritual. This differentiation was amplified through carefully selected integrated marketing communications tools and created a cohesive experience that made Oreo part of consumers' consideration set despite fierce competition. as the case demonstrates, to be different, you have to be seen as different. Now, there are 4 pillars of social media ROI measurement. Clear campaign objectives. The clearer your campaign objectives are, the better you are able to actually define your journey from where you stand to where you need to reach. You need to have comprehensive tracking systems, nothing of the regular old school fans and likes and followers and hashtags will do. You need to have crisp formats that will help you reach actionable revenue linked responses, where your robust analytics tools monitor both engagement and conversion. So, you will have to have that nice little juggle. With these UTM parameters, you dedicate landing pages, promo codes and customer journey mapping to ensure that your social activities finally lead to business results. You have to have multidimensional evaluation, and you apply Forrester's framework and assess both short and long term impact across financial, digital, brand and risk dimensions to get the complete ROI picture. And you optimize continually. So, you regularly analyze your performance data and refine strategies to improve your future ROI. This creates feedback loops and informs content creation, channel selection and audience targeting for ongoing improvement as you go along. Now, here you create advanced social media ROI tracking tools. Today's marketers have access to sophisticated analytics platforms that go far beyond your engagement metrics. These advanced tools provide multi-touch attribution modeling, customer journey visualization, ROI calculation capabilities and connect social media activities to conversion events and revenue generation. You've got Google Analytics, HubSpot, Salesforce, Social Studio, Sprout Social and Tableau, and these offer increasingly sophisticated ways to measure social media's business impact through integration with CRM systems, e-commerce platforms and customer data platforms. When you're implementing UTM parameters for social ROI tracking, you create tagged URLs to start the UTM parameters to all social media links, for example, UTM source, UTM medium, UTM campaign. Then you add your tracking analytics to monitor traffic, behaviors and conversions from each social source. You calculate revenue impact by assigning a monetary value to conversions from social channels, and you optimize channels. So, you reallocate resources based on the performance that you are witnessing. So, UTM parameters provide a straightforward yet powerful method for tracking the effectiveness of social media campaigns. Appending these tracking codes to all links shared on social platforms, marketers can precisely measure which channels, which campaigns, which content pieces have driven the website traffic, conversions and finally the revenue. This approach enables accurate attribution of business outcomes to specific social media activities and provides clear ROI evidence while informing future resource allocation decisions. When you are calculating social media ROI, the basic formulation of it is campaign revenue, which is what you want to reach, campaign cost is what you have incurred, net profit is therefore the difference of the two, and ROI is where you managed to go over your campaign cost. So, that gives you the percentage. Now, the fundamental ROI formula applies to social media just as it does to other marketing investments, where ROI is equal to revenue minus cost into 100 for the percentage. And in straightforward in concept, the challenge lies in accurately attributing revenue to social media activities and accounting for all associated costs. Revenue should include both direct conversions, which are purchases made after clicking social links, and influenced conversions, where purchases of social media played a role in the entire decision. Costs should encompass platform spend, content creation, management tools, agency fees and allocated staff time. By applying this holistic approach, marketers can demonstrate social media's true business contribution. And beyond direct conversion, social media has extended value. So, therefore, it increases your brand awareness for starters. Then it goes on and creates better communities where you get more engagement across its members, and you measure the engagement rates and sentiment when you can do it in real time. You also create an avenue for providing very, very cheap customer service, mostly free of cost if the community is recursive and helps its own, or with an instant reaction time where your participants can also answer questions. And it also helps you towards SEO enhancement and improves the search visibility through social signals. And you can keep measuring your ranking changes with organic traffic growth. So here, cost reduction, ROI, the value of social customer service, average call cost can get reduced to up to $10. Social response cost is just $1, which is approximately the social media reply. And when you're doing it over the service call, you'll get $10 worth of calling. And then when community resolution starts to kick in, you'll get 46% of your peer-to-peer solutions kicking in here. And call reductions, which AT&T saw, was about 16% in terms of the support calls required to manage your customer complaints. Lead generation also has ROI, where you track social media sales impact. Social engagement wise, users interact with content on social platforms. They put in the likes, comments, shares. Click through wise, you get users following tag links to website landing pages. In terms of lead capture, users complete forms or requests of information, and then they convert, and leads become paying customers as you keep pushing them towards the end of the IDA funnel. So when you go downwards, you actually see the conversion finally happening. So here awareness happens, click through is where the interest happens, desire is after lead campaign, because you probably need to nurture them if they don't immediately convert. But finally when they do, you get the converted action happening for you. It also helps you measure brand health, because you measure your reputation and the impact of it. In terms of social listening, you monitor the brand and see mentions across social platforms to track the sentiment, conversation volume, and emerging issues that could impact brand health. In terms of the brand perception, you regularly measure awareness, consideration, preference, and loyalty metrics, and see how social media is impacting the brand health indicators over time. Competition wise, you benchmark the social media performance against competitors to establish relative brand position and identify opportunities for improvement. And in terms of social media, it plays a critical role shaping brand perception and reputation, and factors that directly impact long-term business value. So when you create executive-ready social media ROI reports, it gives you a very clear understanding of the business impact, and it clearly focuses how social media has affected it. It gives that metric to executives which matter. You get them revenue, you get them leads, you get them cost savings and market share impact, which they really need as critical pieces of input. Then it's easily translatable to financial terms. It converts social media results into monetary values whenever possible and speaks language of business leadership, because these are things that they need to report back to the stakeholders who the organization reports to. Then provide context and benchmarks and compare your performance to previous periods, industry standards and competitors, establishing meaningful reference points of how the story has shifted for the better or worse. And you have actionable insights, so you accompany your data with clear implications and recommended next steps based on performance analysis. So what will the future trends therefore be in social media ROI measurement? Yes, very clearly AI-powered analytics are going to come and going to stay. Here, machine learning algorithms will increasingly identify patterns and predict outcomes from social data and move beyond descriptive analytics to prescriptive analytics, and will guide strategy in real time. Same ways, omni-channel attribution will better capture social media's role in complex customer journeys spanning multiple devices and channels, and provide more accurate and contributive analysis. And it will integrate another way to sell. So social commerce. Social commerce will come and add functionality and be deeply embedded within social platforms. The ROI measurement will simplify with closed loop attribution right there and then, and the impression to purchase journey will be within the same native environment of social media. So, what can you learn and take away from here? You set clear goals, measure objectives and align them with your business goals. You implement comprehensive tracking systems right from the get-go and ensure that there is proper attribution through UTM parameters and measure both short-term and long-term value creation. Short-term value creation gives you instant financial gains and digital benefits, whereas long-term benefits are building the brand up and reducing the risk when it comes to crises. You communicate the results in business language and executives understand and they value your inputs because you are telling them of how the organization is performing because of social media. And when you measure social media ROI, it represents these challenges, the frameworks and the approaches outlined, and you get a roadmap for quantifying impact and demonstrating value. And when you implement proper tracking systems, you apply comprehensive evaluation frameworks and communicate results effectively, you can clearly articulate social media's contribution to business success. All of marketing will have to work towards being more measurable because that really is where it makes marketing accountable. So, on that note, I close this conversation for now and I will see you again all soon. But with that, let's again decide to move forward together and win at marketing. This is me, Siddhi Bhattacharyya, signing off.
Understanding oneself, understanding others, understanding society at large, understanding the nature, these are all driven by basic human curiosity. We would all love to understand why things happen, what happens, what is the final outcome, why certain things fail. These are all exercises that we perform in various domains of knowledge. Therefore, knowledge in various domains, you would realize they are actually social artifacts. They have to be rooted into historical perspective, they have to be culturally salient, and there would be socio-political reasons behind this. Whether you talk with respect to engineering sciences, whether you talk with respect to physical sciences, biological sciences, social sciences, that's the reason why humanities and social sciences should be understood by all of us. The knowledge that is segregated, that is divided with respect to areas, specializations, all of them needs to be understood in its context. And what provides the context? It is the social reality. How do you correlate knowledge in a given domain with the cultural reality, with the social reality, with the socio-political compulsions? Okay, how do you understand the law of nature, okay, in its totality? And for doing that, you require the understanding of humanities and social sciences. Say for instance, if you are trying to understand the effect of a particular bacteria, a virus, any microbe, how it affects behavior, how it affects the organism, human being, you start looking at it from a pure biological point of view. If you are trying to look at a particular type of a wavelength, say for example, you are emphasizing on the understanding of the effect of radiation on human life, you are looking at things from a physical point of view. You are looking at the corresponding changes inside the body, you are looking at the physiological side of the understanding of the information. You are trying to understand why, despite knowing the risk that is inbuilt in the process, why still human beings engage into it. You are looking at it from a pure behavioral point of view. Why society at large admire things which has full of risk. You are trying to understand things from a pure sociological point of view. Why people use particular set of words to explain those experiences. You are trying to understand things from the linguistic point of view. So, there are a whole lot of things, and then finally you try to combine all of them to say that what are the guiding principles in life. Then you say you are looking at life, you are looking at humanity from a pure philosophical point of view. And this is what social sciences courses provide you. They provide the context to you in which you would be finally positioning the understanding of the knowledge in any given domain. It could be engineering, it could be sciences, it could be medical sciences, it could be social sciences stuff, it could be humanities stuff. So, contextualizing the knowledge is what humanities social science courses help you obtain.